Don't buy that one. The big golden one, the one sitting right up front in the bin, the one with the bright shine the store puts under the light on purpose. Put it down. That pineapple will let you down at your kitchen table, and you won't know it until you've already cut it open. I've watched it happen 100 times. A man carries one home. He's proud of it. He cuts it on a Sunday afternoon, and the whole house smells like nothing. The flesh is pale. It's stringy. It bites back at you, sour and sharp, and it leaves that raw, prickly feeling on the tip of your tongue. 40 cents a pound, $3 or $4 gone, and into the compost it goes. Here's what almost nobody in the English world ever tells you. You can pick a pineapple so sweet it tastes like candy every single time without ever cutting it open first. My people have done it for generations, and the men who stack those bins have no reason on this earth to teach you how, because the unripe one and the perfect one cost them exactly the same. So stay with me. Right around the middle of this, I'm going to show you the one thing my grandmother did to a pineapple the night before she served it. It costs nothing. It takes no tools, and it can turn a fruit you'd call average into the sweetest thing on your table for less than the price of a cup of coffee. The big growers know it. The store will never mention it. Before we go further, do me one small favor. Tell me down in the comments which kind you buy. The big fat golden ones or the smaller greener ones. Just write it down. One word is fine. I'm asking for a reason, and I'll come back to your answer before we're done. Now, I was raised plain in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We didn't grow pineapples. You can't, not in our cold ground, not through our winters. But a pineapple, when it came, was a special thing. My grandmother kept one on the windowsill above the wash basin when one of my uncles brought it back from the market in town. And I remember her holding it up to that window light, turning it slow in both hands, pressing her thumb in here and there, leaning down to smell the bottom of it like she was listening to it. She wouldn't buy the first one she touched. She'd handle 5 or 6, and the one she chose was always sweet. I thought it was a kind of magic when I was a boy. It wasn't magic, it was knowing. And by the time we're finished here today, you're going to know it too. Let me start with the thing that fools the most people, because once you see it, you'll never be fooled again. Color. That golden color you've been taught to trust. You walk up to the bin and your eye goes straight to the most orange, most golden pineapple in the pile. That's natural. We're built to like a ripe color. But a pineapple is a tricky fruit. And here's the part the store counts on you not understanding. A pineapple does not ripen the way a banana ripens. A banana, you can buy green, leave on the counter, and 3 days later it's soft and sweet. That's because a banana stores starch, and that starch keeps turning into sugar after it's picked. A pineapple barely does that at all. Once a pineapple is cut from the plant, its sugar is just about as high as it's ever going to get. It does not have a big reserve of starch in the body of the fruit waiting to sweeten up on your counter. So if it was picked sour, it stays sour. You can leave it on your windowsill for 2 weeks. The outside might soften, the color might deepen a shade, but that sharp, green, biting flavor inside, that doesn't go away because the sugar was never made in the first place. Now think about what that means. Think about how a pineapple gets from a hot field down in Costa Rica or Honduras all the way to your store in the middle of Ohio. It travels for days. So the growers pick it early while it's still firm and green and tough enough to survive the truck and the boat and the warehouse. They pick it before it's ready. And the color you see on the shelf, a lot of that golden look came on during shipping on the outside, while the inside stayed exactly as unfinished as the day it was cut. So color alone is a trap. The University of Florida, which has studied this fruit longer than most of us have been alive, will tell you the same thing. They measure pineapple sweetness in something called Brix, which is just a fancy way of counting how much sugar is in the juice. And their research shows the sugar in a pineapple is set in the field. It does not climb in any real way after harvest. The outside color can keep changing. The sweetness can't. That's the whole trick in one sentence, and it's the trick the bin is built on. But I'm not telling you to ignore color completely. I'm telling you to read it the right way. And here's how my grandmother read it. She didn't look at the top. She looked at the bottom, and she looked low on the body near the base where the fruit had sat closest to the ground on the plant. A pineapple ripens from the bottom up. The sugars rise and settle low first. So that base, that's where the truth lives. She wanted to see that golden, almost honey color creeping up from the bottom, maybe a third of the way up the fruit. Not the whole thing orange, not the whole thing green. She wanted green up top and warm gold rising from below, like sunrise coming up a hill. If the bottom third has color, the inside near the base is sweet, and that's the sweetest part of the whole fruit anyway. If the whole thing is hard and dark green from top to bottom, with no warmth at the base at all, put it back. That one was ripped from the field too soon, and no windowsill on God's green earth is going to fix it, so now you can read the color. But color is only your first clue, and it's the easiest one to fake. Because here's the thing that bothers me. They wax some of these, they handle them so they look their best under the lights, and that brings me to the second test, the one that can't be faked. The one your nose knows before your eyes do. Smell it. Not the top, not the spiky leaves. Turn the whole pineapple over and smell the bottom, the flat end where it was cut from the plant. That's what I saw my grandmother doing at the window, the thing that looked to me like she was whispering to it. She was breathing it in. Here is what your nose is looking for, and here's why it works. A ripe pineapple is full of sugar, and that sugar is busy giving off a smell, a sweet, warm, almost floral smell, like honey and sunshine. Had a fruit between them. You should be able to lean down to that base and catch it plain, even through the skin. That smell is the fruit telling on itself. It can't hide a thing. If it smells sweet and rich at the bottom, the sugar is there. That's chemistry, not luck. The aroma comes from the very same ripening that makes the sugar. You can't have one without the other. Now, 3 things your nose might find, and you've got to know all 3. 1, no smell at all. You put your nose to the base, and you get nothing. Just a faint, green, woody, cardboard kind of nothing. Put it back. That fruit is not ready. And remember, it never will be. A pineapple with no scent is a pineapple with no sugar. 2, a beautiful, strong, sweet smell. That's your fruit. That one's at its peak right now. Take it home and eat it within a day or 2 because it's telling you it's ready this minute. 3, and you got to be careful here. A sharp, sour, almost vinegar smell, maybe even a little like wine or fermentation coming off that base. That one went too far. The sugars have started to turn. The inside may be going soft and brown near the bottom. Put it back. There's a narrow window between not yet and too late, and your nose is the only tool that finds it dead center. I want you to notice something. Everything I've told you so far costs nothing. You don't need a gadget. You don't need an app on one of those phones. You need the 2 things the good Lord gave you when you were born, your eyes and your nose. The same 2 tools my grandmother used at that window 70 years ago. The English world keeps trying to sell you a tool for everything. There are little electric sugar meters now. There are gadgets that claim to test ripeness for you. You don't need a one of them. You were born with better. That's something the store quietly took from you for a long time. The simple power to choose well. And if you want to go even deeper into that kind of plain, proven knowledge, I want to tell you about something I put together for people like you. It's called The Garden Blueprint, Old-Fashioned Pest Cures That Cost Pennies. And it's part of a full collection that includes the Harvest Blueprint, Amish Soil and Storage Secrets for Bigger Yields. Everything in those pages is the same kind of knowing I'm sharing with you right now. No gadgets, no chemicals, just the methods that have worked for generations, written down plain and practical. You can find the link in the description below, and it won't cost you anywhere near what a season of bad produce costs. If this way of thinking speaks to you, those books will feel like home. But back to where we were, because there's a test you've heard of that I want you to stop doing right now, today. Pulling the leaves. You've heard it. Maybe your mother did it. Maybe a neighbor swore by it. You reach up to the crown, the spiky top, and you try to pluck out one of the center leaves. And the old saying goes, if the leaf pulls out easy, the pineapple's ripe. I'm going to tell you plainly. That test is just about worthless, and it can cost you a good piece of fruit. Here's why. How easy a leaf pulls out has very little to do with the sugar inside. It has a lot to do with how long the pineapple's been sitting, how dried out the crown is, and how rough the journey was. A pineapple that's been knocked around in shipping and is drying out on top will give up its leaves easy as anything, and the inside can still be sour as a green apple. Meanwhile, a perfectly sweet, perfectly fresh one might hold its leaves tight because it's healthy and well watered. You can pull a leaf clean out of a bad pineapple and leave a wonderful one sitting in the bin because it wouldn't let go. So who taught us all to pull the leaves? I'll tell you what I think. It's a test that feels like it works because every now and then it lines up by accident. And it gives you something to do with your hands so you feel clever at the bin, but it's not reading the sugar, it's reading the crown. And the crown is the one part of the fruit you're going to cut off and throw away anyway. Stop pulling leaves, smell the base. Your nose does not lie, the crown does. Now, by this point you might be thinking, all right, color near the bottom, sweet smell at the base, ignore the leaves. That's already more than the fellow stocking the shelves will ever tell you. But there's a fourth test, and this is the one that separates the people who get a good pineapple most of the time from the people who get a great one every time. And it's the one almost nobody knows how to do right. Wait, pick the pineapple up, then pick up another one that's the same size right next to it, and feel the difference in your hands. You want the heavy one. Every single time between two pineapples of the same size, you want the one that feels heavy for its size, the one that feels dense, like it's packed full and there's no empty space inside it. Here's the simple reason, and once you understand it, you'll feel like you've been let in on something. A pineapple is mostly water and sugar and juice. A ripe, sweet pineapple is loaded with that juice. It's full. It's heavy because it's holding all that sweetness inside the flesh. A pineapple that feels light for its size is light because it's starting to dry out inside, or it never filled in properly to begin with. The flesh is more air and fiber and less juice. Light means dry, heavy means juicy. It really is almost that simple. So you do them two at a time, grab two that look about the same size, one in each hand, let your arms be the scale. The heavier one is the sweeter, juicier one just about every time. My grandfather used to say, you weigh a pineapple the same way you weigh a hen, by what's packed inside, not by how big it looks on the outside. A big light pineapple is a disappointment waiting to happen. A heavy one that fits in your two hands like it means it, that's the one you carry home. Now let me put these together for you, because this is where it becomes a real method and not just a list. You walk up to the bin. First, your eyes. You're looking for warm gold rising from the bottom third, green up top, nothing bruised, nothing leaking. From the ones that pass, you pick up two at a time and weigh them in your hands, and you keep the heavy ones. Then, with your two or three heaviest, you turn each one over and you smell the base. The one with the strongest sweet honey smell and no sour edge, that's your pineapple. Eyes, hands, nose, in that order. 30 seconds at the bin and you'll never carry home a sour one again. And I want you to feel what that's worth. Think about how many times you've spent good money, $3, $4, $5, carried it home, set it on the counter to wait, cut it 2 days later, and stood there at the sink disappointed. The waste of it, the whole fruit, gone. Multiply that by every pineapple you've bought in your life. The store doesn't lose a penny when that happens. You do. They've already been paid. That sour pineapple cost them nothing and cost you everything, and there's no sign on the bin warning you, because a sign like that would cost them sales. Nobody's looking out for your table but you. That's the part that's always sat wrong with me. My people, we were raised never to waste what the good Lord provides. You don't throw away food. You don't throw away money you worked for. And this whole long chain from the field down south to the bin in your town, it's built to move fruit fast and cheap, pick too early so it survives the trip. And whether it's actually sweet when you cut it, well, that's your problem now, not theirs. They've sold you the look of a pineapple. Whether you got the taste of one was never their concern. Now, here's where I keep my promise to you, because some of you are sitting there thinking, that's fine for picking a new one, but I've already got a pineapple sitting on my counter right now. I bought it 3 days ago. It's already home. Is there anything I can do with the one I've already got? There is. And this is the thing my grandmother did at the window the night before she served it. This is the part I promised you back at the start. You turn it upside down. That's it. You take your pineapple and you stand it on its crown, on its leafy top, upside down, and you leave it like that for about half a day to a full day before you cut it. On a plate, in a bowl, in the sink, wherever it'll balance, leaves down, cut end up. Now let me tell you why this works. Because it's the same reason that base is the sweetest part. Remember how I told you a pineapple ripens from the bottom up and the sugars settle low? Inside that fruit, the heaviest, sweetest juice sinks down toward the bottom by simple weight. Gravity pulls it down. So the bottom of a pineapple is almost always noticeably sweeter than the top near the crown. You've probably tasted this yourself without knowing why, where the first slices off the bottom were wonderful and the last ones near the top were sharper. When you stand it on its head overnight, you let that heavy sweet juice flow back through the whole fruit. It redistributes. The sugars that pooled at the base spread back up toward the top, and the next day when you cut it, the whole pineapple tastes more even, more uniformly sweet, top to bottom. The sour top isn't so sour anymore. You haven't added a single grain of sugar. You've just moved what was already in there so the whole thing shares it. It costs nothing. It takes no skill. A child can do it. And the night before company came, my grandmother would set that pineapple on its crown on the windowsill, and I never once thought to ask her why until I was a grown man and learned the science of it and realized she'd known it all along, handed down from her mother, who learned it from hers. They didn't know the word for it. They just knew it worked. And the English world, with all its gadgets, mostly forgot it ever existed. So if you've got one on the counter right now, go turn it over tonight. Tomorrow, you'll taste the difference. And the next time you bring one home, do the same thing the night before you serve it. Heavy fruit, picked by smell, turned on its head overnight. That's the whole secret, and you'll never serve a sour slice again. But I'm not done with you yet, because there's more to this than just the cutting, and the next part is where most folks lose half the good of the fruit without even knowing it. Let's talk about how you cut it and when, because a perfectly picked, perfectly turned pineapple can still be ruined by waiting too long or cutting it wrong. Here's a thing most people never learn. Once you cut a pineapple open, the clock starts running fast. That same sugar and acid that makes it taste so good also makes it break down quick. Cut pineapple in the refrigerator is really only at its best for about 3 days, maybe 4. After that, the flesh goes soft and watery and starts to lose that bright flavor. So don't cut the whole thing if you're only going to eat a little. But here's the part that surprises people. A whole, uncut pineapple keeps better on the counter than you'd think for a day or two, but once it's at its peak by smell, it does not wait for you. When that base smells sweet and ready, that's the day. Within a day or two, that's when you eat it. A ripe pineapple is not a patient fruit. And here's something my grandmother knew that the stores would never tell you because it cuts into what they sell. That core, the tough center column everyone cuts out and throws away, you're throwing away the most powerful part. The core has the most of a thing called bromelain. Bromelain is an enzyme, a natural one, the fruit's own tool, and it's the reason your tongue tingles and feels almost raw after a lot of fresh pineapple. It's literally working on the proteins in your mouth. It's strong stuff. The core is tough to eat raw, yes, but you don't throw it out. You can slice it thin. You can throw it in with stewing meat to tenderize it the way folks have done for 100 years, or drop it in water with a little honey overnight for a drink. My people didn't throw away the core any more than they'd throw away the heart of a cabbage. Waste was the one thing we couldn't afford, and that bromelain, that brings me to something the University of Florida and the old growers both know. The amount of that enzyme, and the sugar right along with it, is highest when the fruit is properly ripened on the plant. Another reason the field-picked too early fruit lets you down, it's not just less sweet, it's less of everything good. The early pick is a hollow version of what a pineapple is supposed to be, and that's the version most folks have eaten their whole lives without ever tasting the real thing. Now, I told you I'd come back to your comment, and here's where I do. Some of you wrote that you buy the big golden ones, some of you wrote the smaller, greener ones, and I'll tell you something that runs against what most people believe. The smaller pineapple is very often the sweeter one. Here's why. A smaller pineapple, especially one that feels heavy for its size, has concentrated its sugar into less fruit. The plant put the same sweetness into a smaller package. The big ones look impressive in the bin. and that's exactly why the store stacks them up front, but big and watered down is a real thing. So if you've got a choice between a great big light one and a smaller one that feels heavy as a stone and smells like honey at the base, take the small heavy one every time. You're buying sweetness, not size. And the bin is arranged to sell you size because size is what catches your eye from across the store. That's the whole game when you really look at it. Everything about how that fruit is grown and shipped and stacked is built around the look of it and the survival of it, not the taste of it. Picked early so it survives the trip, stacked big and shiny so it catches your eye, sold by the pound so the heavy, watery monster makes them more money than the small, sweet one. Not a single link in that whole chain is working for your tongue. Only you can do that, and now you know how. Let me give you a few more things my grandmother knew, the small ones that finish off the picture. Look at the eyes. Those little rough diamond shapes all over the skin of the pineapple, those are called eyes. On a good ripe pineapple, the eyes are large, full, and flat, almost filled in level with the skin. On an underripe one, the eyes are small and pointed and pinched looking. Big flat eyes mean the fruit filled in properly and had time to develop. Small mean and pointed eyes mean it was rushed. So once you've got your color and your weight and your smell, glance at the eyes too. Big and flat is what you want. Check the firmness, but the right way. You give the body a gentle squeeze with your whole hand, not poking with one finger. A good pineapple has a little give to it, just a little, like a firm handshake. Rock hard all over means underripe. Soft and squishy, especially with soft spots or weeping juice anywhere, means it's going off. You want firm with the faintest give and no soft mushy spots at all, particularly down near that base. And look at the base itself, the cut end. It should look clean and dry, maybe a little sticky from the sugar, but clean. If you see white, fuzzy mold, or it's wet and sour smelling, or there are dark, soft patches, that fruit's gone too far. A little sugary stickiness at the base is actually a good sign. That's the sweetness leaking out, telling you it's ripe and full. But fuzz and sour wetness is rot, and you put that one back. Now here's the thing I most want you to carry out of this. Every one of these tests, the color rising from the bottom, the sweet honey smell at the base, the heavy weight in your two hands, the big flat eyes, the firm gentle give, and turning it upside down at home, every single one of them is free. There is not one tool to buy. There is not one product. There is not one gadget. These are the same things plain people have done at market for as long as a pineapple has been a treat worth choosing carefully. And the reason you maybe never learn them isn't because they're secret or hard. It's because nobody who sells you pineapples makes a dime by teaching you to pick the good one over the bad one. The knowledge was never hidden. It was just never offered. There's a difference, and the difference is the whole story. I think about my grandmother at that window, turning the fruit slow in the light, pressing her thumb, smelling the base, choosing the heavy one. She never read a study. She never saw a Brix number in her life. She just knew because her mother showed her and her mother's mother before that. And everything the University of Florida has measured with all their instruments, everything the big growers know about how sugar sets in the field and never climbs after, every bit of it just confirms what that plain old woman knew with her two hands and her nose at a farmhouse window. The science caught up to her. It didn't pass her. That's how it usually goes, in my experience. The plain way and the proven way turn out to be the same way. We just got there first and quieter and without charging anybody for it. So here's what I want you to do this week. Next time you're standing at that bin, slow down. Don't grab the big shiny one up front. Pick up two at a time and feel for the heavy one. Turn it over and smell the base for that honey sweetness, and put back anything that smells sour or smells like nothing at all. Look for the gold rising up from the bottom, green up top, big flat eyes, a clean, sticky base. Take it home. And the night before you serve it, stand it on its crown, upside down, and let those sugars spread back through the whole fruit. Then cut it and taste it and tell me I steered you wrong. You won't. You'll cut into the sweetest pineapple you've had in years, maybe the sweetest of your life, and it won't have cost you one extra penny. Just 30 seconds of knowing what to feel for. That's all the difference there ever was between the disappointment and the candy. 30 seconds and a little knowing, and that's the part that stays with me, the thing I most want to leave you with. For years, maybe your whole life, you've been quietly handing over money for a coin flip. Sometimes sweet, sometimes sour, and no way to tell which until it was too late. That wasn't your fault. Nobody handed you what my grandmother handed me at that window, but you've got it now, and the next pineapple you pick won't be a gamble, it'll be a sure thing. That's something the store quietly took from you for a long time, the simple power to choose well, and tonight you took it back. You're the kind of person who'd rather know than be sold. The kind who'd rather use what the good Lord in your own two hands already gave you than pay for one more gadget you don't need. That's how I was raised, and I think that's why you've stayed with me this long. We're the same that way. So tell me down in the comments the way I asked you back at the start. Were you a big golden one buyer or a smaller greener one buyer? Write it down even now, even after all this. And tell me one more thing while you're there. Tell me whether you've ever pulled the leaves to test a pineapple, because I'd wager a good many of you have, and I want to know I've saved you from doing it ever again. Go on and comment. This audience is a quiet one, I know, but I read them, and your one word helps more folks find this than you'd guess. And if you'd like to keep learning the plain way, the old way, the way that costs nothing and works anyhow, then stay with me here. This isn't a channel so much as a few of us remembering together the things the modern world was a little too eager to sell back to us. The next thing I want to show you is how to keep a whole bunch of bananas from turning brown for nearly 2 weeks with one thing you've already got in a kitchen drawer, the very trick my mother used, so we'd never waste a single one. It's even simpler than this, and it saved me more fruit than I can count. I'll see you there. Pick the heavy one, smell the base, and turn it upside down.